So I love this process. I think it's awesome. And I don't quite know what I was going to say. Here it is. The mistakes I made. I was like getting into this whole tangent and fell apart. Didn't even know what I was going to say. Hi, my name is Jay Catalano, and today we're going to be making a concrete vessel for candles, but this time we're going to add in a black pigment so that we can end up making this awesome concrete jar. Let's get started. So, behind the scenes, for the last couple of weeks, I've been working very hard down in my basement making these awesome concrete vessels for candles. Now, it's taken a lot of trial and error. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've also minimized my mistakes by the learning process. I actually joined a Facebook group that I'll link down below. It's the Do-It-Yourself. You know what? Let me not ruin the name because it's such an awesome group. I'm actually going to give it to you right here, right now, so that there are no confusions. The Do-It-Yourself Concrete and Cement Candle Vessels group. Now, I'm also part of another group for candle makers, and I'll add that link in later when I start making candles. But for now, I want to give props to this group. I've been making a lot of changes to my formula to the point where I'm feeling very confident about what it is that I'm doing right now. So, I'm going to break that down for you today. We're going to add in the pigment and we're going to make this awesome jar. And as I was saying, downstairs in my basement, I've been coming up with a formula that I think works for me. And I'm hoping that if you enjoy it, it could work for you. All right? I'm going to end up taking this, I'm going to clean it up, and I'm going to bring in all my materials. I'll be back in a second. Don't move. Okay, I'm back. Now, as you can see, I have all of my ingredients and all of my materials lined out in front of me. And before I get started, I wanted to mention when I first began a couple of weeks ago, I used household items to create the mixture. Now, the problem with that is that's not sustainable. Eventually, I'm going to end up spending too much money, or I'm going to ruin something, or my wife's going to find out. I can't do that. So what I had to do was I had to buy certain materials that were going to help me to make this mixture and that I could use again and again and again, right? So what did I do? I went to the Dollar Tree store. Woo, man, what an awesome store. I'm not even joking. I bought these. Obviously, they were $1 each. They are just absolutely awesome. I can hold them. I can pour. There's a spout here, and they're easily cleanable. Yeah, this is a little mucked up, but I'm going to reuse this for my black mixture today, so this doesn't really bother me. And then I bought this awesome spatula, and this spatula has holes in it that when I see clumps, I can determine where to maneuver my spatula so I can get rid of them. I actually love this. This is awesome. I bought myself a measuring cup and a see-through measuring cup that I actually use for water. I think that store is awesome if you're getting into candles. Don't pass that opportunity up. Go to your local Dollar Tree store. I'm not affiliated with them. I'm just passing that information on. And maybe you've done that already. Congratulations if you have. Or you know what? You could actually just go to a dollar store. You don't even need to go to Dollar Tree. Anything will do, I'm sure, to find these materials so you can save yourself money and still come out with awesomeness. All right, so all of my materials are here in front of me. Everything will be measured out to the gram. I will convert it and put it in the video for those that use other formulas so that you can follow along as well. Now, these things worked for me. You might find that you need to tweak a little here and a little there, and that's great. For me, though, I found that this particular formula has been working very well. So, what do we have in front of us? What do you need in front of you if you're going to make yourself a vessel? Now, I have this. Here is my cement. The remaining cement is downstairs. I didn't want to bring everything up, so I just brought enough up to measure up to the point of the actual mold, right? What I'm going to use today. I have myself some gloves. These gloves I didn't buy in the Dollar Tree store, but they had some gloves there. I actually had these gloves and I'm using them from my other projects. They had gloves at the Dollar Tree store. I would pick those up in the future if I need them. I said I have my little water pitcher, which I need to fill up with some water. I have my mold, and as you can see, it's turning color, which means I've been using it a lot. I've been learning a lot. Actually, before I continue, let me mention that I've made a lot of mistakes. I think it's important that you realize I made these mistakes because I don't want you to think that I'm coming up here and I know it all. I don't. I really don't. And the Facebook group has helped immensely. There are a lot of things that you will end up doing. Some are right, some are wrong, and then it mixes all together and you start to learn. Right? And as you start to learn, you start to grow. And I feel like I'm in the growing stage. I feel like the snowball going down the hill and I'm starting to pick up more snow. So I love this process. I think it's awesome. And I don't quite know what I was going to say. Here it is. The mistakes I made. I was like getting into this whole tangent and fell apart. Didn't even know what I was going to say. So I made some mistakes that my formula was so grand that I had a lot of material left over. Wasted material that just hardened and I had to throw away. That's not good, right? And then I had, a couple of times I had too little material, so I couldn't complete the project. So then that's not good. And then I had it where it was not formulated correctly, so it fall apart. Oh my gosh, it got to the point where I was like, oh, this is not good. Let me write it down and let me get specific because I do not want to continue on this path. That's not fun. So I wrote everything down. After that, it started to turn around for me. It started to get easier in the process. I started to feel more comfortable, right? Anyway, that's pretty much what happened. Then I started to get the measurements and then it started to go the other way. I will break those measurements down in a second. And now I have my paper towels. My paper towels are here in case I make a little bit of an error or a little splash. I can wipe things up. I have my bowl, my mixing bowl that I'm going to use to actually make my mixture. And I have my awesome spatula. Love this. Love this. Another reason I love this is I can scrape the bottom without scraping out any of the plastic, and I can get any leftover material into my mold. This is awesome. Then I have my black pigment. I will list the black pigment down below so you could also look into buying it if that's what you want to do. I also have my spoon. I'm going to use this to measure as well, right? I have my measuring cup for my cement, but I have my spoon for my black dye, my black pigment. I have my scale, and then if my edges are rough at the end, I could sand down the bottom. Now, I have my trusty mask that I'm going to use for the video. This mask is just for the video because I want to make sure you hear me, all right? I have a loud voice. I'm sure you hear me. So even if I used my respirator, you could probably hear me, but I would sound more like Darth Vader. So I don't want to sound like him, but I brought my trusty respirator up that just kind of fell apart. So bear with me a second while I put this thing back together. There it is. I brought my respirator up because I wanted to point out that one of the ladies from the do-it-yourself group, I believe her name is Shannon, she told me that you have to be very careful and you have to use a respirator when you make these vessels because you do not want this stuff in your lungs. Well, I want to let you know that there hasn't been one time downstairs that I haven't made these vessels without my mask. I have made them each and every time with my respirator and not this mask. This mask is only for today. I use my respirator every other day. Now, I want to mention to you one of the things that happened to me a couple of years ago was I developed what's called vocal cord dysfunction. And vocal cord dysfunction is a disorder that when you breathe, your vocal cords open up or abduct, right? So you breathe in and your vocal cords open up. When you breathe out, they stay open. Now, what was happening to me was that my vocal cords were adducting. They were closing. So I would take a breath in and it would stop because they would close. Now, That's not a lung issue, but it is an issue that affects the breathing, and that's not fun. And one of the ways to trigger VCD is through dust. So I use my respirator each and every time, okay? I know that might sound like a lot. Maybe everyone has their own point of view, but in my world, I use the respirator. I want to be protected. I want you to be protected. So when you go about doing it, think about getting one of these respirators. You can find one on eBay for very, very cheap and protect your lungs. Or maybe even your vocal cords, in my case, all right? Oh, and by the way, things are much, much better. I'm about 99% back to normal when it comes to that. So we're in the right direction. Anyway, let's get started with the formula. You ready? Now, here's what I do. First and foremost, we're going to put on my mask. I know you can hear me because the last time I did my video, I heard myself and I was like, oh my God, you're loud. That's just who I am. Forgive me. Turn down your volume. Okay, I'm gonna also put on my gloves because I don't want to get dirty on my hands, right? Because I have a white shirt, which is probably pretty silly when you're using black pigment. Hopefully it won't splash on me. If it does, uh-oh. Okay, so now what I do is I take my scale and I'm going to do a screenshot so you can see the scale at the same time. For now, you'll just see me in the front. I'm going to add in the screenshot and you guys will be able to see the awesomeness of the formula. I will talk you through. I'll put it in grams and I will convert it so that you can use other systems as well, all right? You might not use grams, you might use milliliters or something else. I don't know. I'll figure it out, but I want to make sure everyone's included in this. Okay, so I have my bowl. I turn this on, and it's on. It says 0. I put this on, and it says 122. So 122 plus 240 is 362. Am I right? Alexa, how much is 122 plus 240?
122 plus 240 is 362.
I was right. Yes. Math is so tough. My kids, 10 and 12, they're in 5th and 7th grade respectively. And you want to know what? I can't help them with math anymore. I could barely add 122 plus 240. Okay, anyway, we know that it is 362. So I have my cement here and my measuring cup, right? And I put this in here until I get to 362. I went a little bit overboard. And I'm pretty specific. If it goes over a gram, I won't care as much, but I want it to say 362. And it says 362. So I'm happy. I have some leftover material that I'll put back downstairs, but for now, we're done with our cement. Now, I have my black pigment. I want 20 grams of my black pigment, and so I have to be careful because 362 and 20 adds up pretty fast when you're putting this in grams into your mixture. So here we go. I want to get to 382. See how quick I was with that? It's pretty good. I'm pretty good, right? 362 and 20, 382, pretty fast. Anyway, I now need 9 more grams. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. And I am officially, I'm there. Good. 382. Now, I'm going to put my spoon down and I'm going to gently put my pigment here. And now I'm done with my actual powder, right? I have my cement all and I have my black pigment. Now, I'm going to take my spatula and I'm going to gently mix this up so that the consistency doesn't look like this. You see that right there? Can you see that? It's got tan and black together. I don't want that. I want it to look consistent, one solid color. And so I'm going to stir this up until I feel comfortable knowing that I got all this mixture in together. Now some might say, well, Jay, why don't you do that with the water? I mean, what's the difference? You know, 6 1/2 dozen the same? I'm not 100% sure, but I like it better this way. I feel like as if I've done it the right way, right? When I paint, I use a primer. When I go out into the cold, I start my car before I go out. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that I'm doing the prep work first. I don't want to just throw this together. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the mixture's looking pretty good. I'm going to show you what it looks like now. Look at that, right? Looks like a solid mixture. So I'm going to make sure just a couple more little passes, and I'm pretty happy. Now, when I add the water, I don't have water. I'm going to get water. Hold on. When I add the water, oh, and by the way, I got a dribble on my shirt. Not good. There goes this shirt. Anyway, I noticed a couple little specks from me stirring. Underneath, I have a piece of plastic that's protecting my counter. Always remember that this stuff goes all over the place. I don't know how, but it does. So if it goes here, it goes in here. Protect yourself. All right? Protect your stuff. I'm up in my kitchen, and it's not going to be pretty if I don't protect my things. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to get some water. I got some water. Now, it says here for 21. I want to add 70 grams of water, which will make this for 91. Okay? I have to do it slowly. Here we go. I'm going to add this in to see right when it says 491. You got to be careful because grams go fast. I'm already at 473. I want to go to 491. I'm almost there. I'm there. Yes. 491, right on the mark. Now, I'm going to take this and I'm going to start to gently, I say gently because this stuff starts to jump. You will see, I don't know if you could tell, but the dust is coming out. Shannon, this stuff is hopefully not getting into my lungs, but this stuff is nasty. You do not want this stuff in your lungs. Nasty, nasty, nasty. Not good for the health. All right, we're worried about the coronavirus. We also need to worry about getting these pollutants into our lungs. We have to make sure that we don't do these silly things either. So protect yourself, right? So I'm stirring, and as you can see, it's starting to come together, but you see there's a lot of chunks. I don't know if you could tell there's a lot of chunks. And so I don't want chunks. Chunks aren't good because chunks will form into what? Chunks. Anyway, here we go. I'm starting to take the mixture and drag it up to the side of the wall and spread it so that when it comes back down, all the chunks get released. And so it's now starting to look more solid. No, it's not looking more solid. It's starting to look more liquidy, more smooth-like. Remember what I said before? I like smoothie-like consistency, not pancakes. I don't eat pancakes. I eat smoothies, or I should say I drink smoothies, right? So we're going to make this look like a smoothie-like consistency, and it's getting there. Now, when you do your own mixture, you might find you need to add a gram or two here and there, right? Maybe you want to add a little bit more cement or a little less water. Test out what works for you. This formula works best for me. Now, if you decide not to use a pigment, right, and you just want it to be a gray cement-like vessel, what I would do was I would take that 20 grams that I used in with the pigment, and I would actually add that in from the cement. So instead of adding 240 grams of cement, I would add 260 grams of cement, right? That way that you have the same consistency. All right, I think I am ready to start pouring. You guys ready? Now when I pour this out, I want to make sure I pour just enough to jiggle and get it to get to the bottom. It's important that it gets to the bottom. All right? Anyway, here we go. Here we go. Here comes smoothie. Here comes my smoothie. All right. There's a bunch that has just been released into the vessel. I'm not done. And I'm going to make sure I tap it so that we get the content on the bottom of the vessel. Now, we need to add more. It's not ready. Here we go. Now, the good thing about this spatula, what I said before, is I'm able to drag the contents out in through the spout into my vessel. I'm sorry, into my mold. Now, I still need stuff. It's starting to get there. I don't know if you could tell. It's starting to get there, but it's not quite on the top yet. Can you tell? Right? It's not quite there on the top. So, I don't have a lot left, but I do. You know why I know I do? Because it's all on the edges. And I'm starting to get it from the edge, and now, oh, look at how much more it's gonna come out. Look at this. Look at that. No waste. Very little waste when I'm done with this. That's what I love about this formula. Measure it out. Minimize your waste, because if you don't, it gets quite expensive. Ooh, looking good. I might scrape a little bit more. It might, oh, that gets the bubbles out. When you drop it like this, it gets the bubbles out. Awesome. Awesome. All right. You see, I'm starting to scrape. Can you see all the red under here? Right? Because I am taking the contents and I'm bringing it to the edge, and I'm going to actually add more to my mold, minimizing my waste. Look at this. Look at this. Watch this. There's a little bit more. There's a little bit more. I'm starting to lighten up here. All right. Nice. This looks good. This looks awesome. You know what I'm going to do? Ooh, I dropped a couple of little driblets of this content. I'm going to scrape a little bit more. I want to see if I can get more out of it, which I believe I can. I believe I can get more out of it. You ready to see? I see some. You see? Here it comes. Not a lot, but enough that I don't want to waste. You saw that? All right. I think I got it all. Let me make sure that distributes throughout the mold. I'm going to jiggle it up and down a little bit more. And we are going to wait for 3 hours. Hold on. We're going to wait for 3 hours. We're going to come back and we're going to demold this. I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to get to a point where we're able to make sure the kitchen doesn't look bad. God forbid the wife finds out. And then we'll demold this and we'll wrap it up from there. Be back in a bit. Alexa, how much time on the timer?
You have 2 hours and 23 minutes left on your 3-hour timer.
I have 2 hours and 23 minutes left on my timer. Guess what I've been doing for the last 37 minutes? Yes, I've been cleaning up. Now, cleaning up doesn't usually take that long. No, it doesn't. But guess what? There must have been a pinhole inside of the black pigment bag that when I left to go bring it downstairs to my basement, it followed me. Little trails, little driblets of the powder followed me. And I saw it. And I said, oh, what's that? My wife's gonna kill me. Ah! So then I said, all right, calm down. I got some time. Let me clean it up, go through it methodically, and I'm sure everything will be fine. Now, ironically, the pigment doesn't stain, right? You would think it would just stain. You have to be careful, but when you clean it up, it actually comes up nice and together, right? So it's pretty good. However, I thought to myself, this is a lot of cleanup. So a lot of dust and powder fell out of that bag. Not good. But I figured I'm going to be saved by 2 ways. The first way I'm going to be saved, and let me explain this real quick. My wife is amazing when it comes to seeing things that I've cleaned up. She can see that I didn't clean up. Now maybe we could chalk it up to saying that I'm a man and I just don't know how to do it. That could be possible. We could also chalk it up to saying my wife is just awesome that way and she sees things that everyone else doesn't see. Maybe that's also possible. But in this instance, I said, I'm going to be saved by 2 ways. And one of the ways I'm going to be saved is that my floors are wood with black veins and my basement is gray with black veins, right? So in case there's something I missed, maybe she doesn't see it, Although, my wife is really good. She's so good, in fact, sometimes she sees stains that happen in the future. She'd be like, what's that stain? Someone's calling. Uh-oh. Hello? I just found out my kids are coming home early today because there's something wrong with the HVAC system. So now I have to clean up even faster. But what I was saying was that my wife can see something on the wall that happens a week from now. She's like, what's that egg stain on the wall? And I'm thinking, egg stain? I don't eat eggs. And then a week later, an egg hits the wall and she's like, that egg stain right there. She's that good. But the first thing I already told you will save me. The second thing that's gonna save me is I have two kids. I have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old. What's the worst that happens? She's gonna blame them first. She's gonna say, Jackson, Lee, what's all this stuff? And I'm gonna come in and go, wait a minute. Let's not yell at them. They're kids. Super dad. All right, I probably won't do that because that's lying, but it is a good option. I will be back in a little over 2 hours so we could demold this. See you soon. Okay, I'm back. It's been a little over 3 hours and I've done a lot of things in between then. I cleaned up. I had my little mishap that I explained before. And I also had to have my kids picked up because the HVAC system at their school went kaput. And so it was freezing. It's 21 degrees outside and it must have been even colder inside. So they're here doing some virtual work. Anyway, let's start demolding this. Now, I've gotten a little bit better at demolding. It's gotten a little easier after doing it dozens of times. I'm gonna walk you through it if this is your first time doing it. It's actually not as hard as it seems, but you have to be methodical. And one of the things you wanna do is you wanna get it away. You wanna get it away from the bottom of the vessel. This is the bottom of the vessel. This is the top of the mold. This is the bottom of the vessel. So once we flip it over, you'll see it right side up. So we wanna get it away from that portion of the mold, right? See how I'm flipping it down? And then you wanna make sure you get the entire thing all the way through. So now I've gotten it all the way around the mold. I'm now gonna take it down to the bottom of the lip, almost, right there. See, I'm around the lip. I then flip it upside down and get my finger underneath one of these. I notice that this is moving. I'm gonna move that over there. And I'm going to pull this slightly over the lip and then run my fingers around it like so until the whole thing is over the lip, which I am almost there. That's it. Now it's over the lip. If you could see, that's over the lip. I have it pretty tight on my hand and I'm gonna just slightly pull, and turn, slightly pull and turn. Not too hard, just enough so that it kind of comes off nice and gentle. Gotta go easy, it's still curing. And now I'm completely off the actual vessel. Now I'm going to squeeze the mold. Twist, did you hear that pop? And now I'm out. And I've got myself a nice black vessel. Now, I want to mention something. I'm sanding the bottom of the vessel down because it's a little rough and that could end up hurting someone's hand or scratch something. Much better. Good. I would clean this up. You see how it kind of comes off a little black. I'll clean this up later. But here's my vessel. And if you can notice, which it looks awesome, and some of this I actually appreciate. If you can see, there's a little white spot here. So what I did was I created the white vessel as well the other day, and I used the mold, so there might have been a little left over, and so it left a little hint. I'm okay with that. In the future, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna buy some more of these molds, and I'm gonna separate them per color, because, you know, you might wanna keep a solid black or a solid white, but I love it. It looks awesome. It looks, there's really very little, let me see. There's one little bubble here on the lip that must have popped. But other than that, nothing. Much better, much easier, much cleaner looking. And so, here's my vessel. What do you think? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It was a lot of fun doing this vessel. I am going to do a white vessel soon, as well as a tips and tricks video on some of the things that I've learned. I'm actually going to talk to some of the community at the DIY cement and vessel community. I will link their page below so you can join or take a look if that's what you want to do. And I'm going to find out what some of their tips and tricks are and get them to join along in the conversation, because in order for this to go successfully, we need to do this as a community. Thank you once again for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.